Hello guys and girls, how's it going? Screezilla here and I hope you're all well, and you join me today in a bit of a chat about the Italian tech tree and, well, a serious problem that faces Italian tankers and also, well, the Axis team in general. Now, there is a huge disparity between the Italian tanks and, well, other nations. And the biggest problem is the gap between this vehicle here, the Fiat 6614, and the Tipio, the Sherman Firefly, basically. So you go from 4.7 up to 6.3, and there's nothing between there, tank-wise. Sure, we've got a few tank destroyers. You know, great. We've got a couple of tank destroyers. That's handy. Got a very fast tank destroy car with a recoilless rifle on top. That's great. It's a good scout vehicle, but it's not a tank. It's not capable of pushing the line. And when you get a M26 driving into the rear of you, you generally get absolutely destroyed. You know, it's not a vehicle that's capable of fighting in the front lines. This isn't a tank that's capable of fighting in the front lines. And yes, there is another tank. There is the tank destroyer. The oh god, what's it called? The basically the Sherman Jumbo that's got a Hellcat turret on it and is completely weird and just got a 90mm gun on it and just a bizarre odd creation. Now we're pretty slow here, so I'm just sort of a bit hesitant of going up to the castle. I feel like I've taken a bit too long. So there are going to be enemies around the castle area, but I might have to risk it. Now this tank is not very good at pushing the assault. You know, you're not going to be able to really advance and attack the enemy front on. And yeah, there's a S11 somewhere. It's just taking out that Panther. And we're not going to go there. We're just going to go and hide here. We can reverse up this hill. Come on, chuck it in reverse gear. Come on. I know you can do it. Maybe not. But, yeah, if we had a better turn on the gun. Unfortunately, our gun is not great because you can't really depress it. As you can see, it's oh, he's back. Come on, turn. Bullshit. You hit an ATGM. That is the most bullshit thing I've seen today. Taking out his ATGM launcher, I guess. And we're dead. But this is the problem with this vehicle, is if you can't get into a good position early on, you can't really do anything. So if I'd managed to actually back up into that position, I reckon I'd have been okay, but unfortunately I couldn't, which is very frustrating. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about is the possibility of adding in this, the P43. Now, the P43, or the P30/43, was a development vehicle. It was a tank designed for basically testing, and it was going to be basically the Italian Panther. So it would give the Italians technically a sort of 5.3, maybe 5.7 tank. It would give the Italians a relatively decent sort of Panther sort of vehicle, and it would allow the Italians to actually have a tank that's capable of, well, backing up other tanks, because at the moment they have nothing. At the moment they have this, the Tipio Sherman, right? And when you're grinding, this is the only... Bastard took out my 50 cal. This is the only tank you can get at, you know, when you've unlocked a 6.3. So whichever 6.3 you unlock, this is going to be your backup tank when you're driving it. The other option, of course, is not taking one out and just driving at 4.7, doing 4.7 matchups until you grind everything out. But many people don't want to do that. Many people want to up. Ooh, something just shot me from long distance. Or somebody missed a shot. Can't see it, but I think there's something in front of me here. And Stalin Bolt is busy shooting at me, but there's a tank over there somewhere. Okay, I'm just going to back up very slowly and go around this hill rather than over the top of it, because it seems there is a lot of tanks shooting at me. So we'll just go down here. Should be fine. So right now, if say all of our team had, well, half our team were Italian, say, and they all had a 6.3, this would be the only backup tank they had. This would be the only backup we would have in that tank range. So effectively we're boned. You know, it really messes up the German team, and it messes up the Axis team in general, because you don't have anything to aid you. There's no tanks that can really be of benefit to the battle. Now, the Tipio is not a bad tank. Indeed, it's not a bad tank at all. But it's a 4.7 tank. It's not going to be great going up against, you know, tanks, you know, such as the, well, anything at sort of 6.7 or 6.3, you know, the tanks that you face in these sort of scenarios, you know, it's not designed to take on things like that. It's okay, you could say, you know, it's sort of equal to taking on Panthers, but they're 5.7, you know, they're not, it's not the same VR rating, it's not even close. And when you're fighting things that have ATGMs, you're fighting Cold War tanks, you're fighting modern tanks in a tank that's designed in the early 1940s, and that's it. That's the only vehicle you've got that can counteract, the only tank you've got to actually try and fight the enemy, and you're going to be facing things that you can't penetrate. You haven't got a hope in hell of penetrating, even from like the rear. You've got tanks that have better accuracy than you, have better guns than you, better velocity of shells than you, you've got heat ammunition, got heat FS ammunition. You know, you've got chemical rounds. It's ridiculous. And yes, of course, these tanks did fight on, and they did face up against these tanks. But it's not competitive. This is a game. At the end of the day, this is a fucking game. And you need vehicles to be competitive. You can't just throw a nation in and be like, oh yeah, they'll do. That's good. We'll just have, oh yeah, just throw them in. That'll be fine. Just give them a couple of armoured cars. You can't do that because it's not going to work. At the end of the day, it's not going to work because you've got one team that's effectively nerfed. And you can see here, because we're sort of running out of backup vehicles, we're running out of tanks. You know, the are you dead, or is it just maybe it's just on fire? You know, it's ludicrous that you've got these tanks facing off against each other in these sort of matches, you know, because it's just not a competitive match, and it really shows. The Italian teams really struggle late game, right? You'll notice that early on, the German/Axis team did fine, and generally they do. You know, we always do fine in the early match. However, when it comes to mid-game, when it comes to late game, the German and Axis teams suffer like anything else. And just look, you know, it's ludicrous. It's beyond a joke. It's completely unfair on one team, and it needs to stop. You know, Gaijin are fucking so much up at the moment, and they're driving players off, and this kind of thing does not help. Yes, the P-43 was a paper tank, you know. If we look at it, you know, this was just probably a mock-up, a model. There wasn't actually many made, or any made. But let's just take out a plane, sod it. But look at the Japanese tech tree, the Chairi 2, the Hori, things like that. They were not made. They were just paper tanks. They were just vehicles that were mock-ups. They weren't actually created. And herein lies the problem. It's a hypocrisy. You know, that Gaijin will say, oh, well, you know, we don't add in paper tanks. Bullshit, they do. They've added in so many vehicles that didn't exist, yet they keep saying they don't. They've really got to up their game, because at the moment they really are messing up with the matches. You know, when you've got one team that effectively can't fight because they run out of vehicles so quickly, they can't actually, you know, manage to keep on a game. It's just a joke, and it's not a very funny joke. I can't get into him. To rip. And of course we just damaged the gear levers on that thing, you know, P8s made of pure stalinium. I just can't anymore. Seriously, the 20mm on that thing are useless. It's an absolutely pathetic vehicle, and it's a pathetic lineup. Let's just return to hangar now. And just have a... I'm sorry, I'm just tired. I'm just seriously tired of this, because it's beyond a joke. Yeah, a lot of skill does not matter, by the way, when you're driving any Italian vehicle. So you look at the Italian lineup. It's pathetic, and Gaijin, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. Like, they're seriously just idiots. Like, honestly, I mean, I doubt I'll ever get a partnership because amount of times I've called them just tossers, and this game is frustrating. But you look at the lineup, right? Unless you get the premium, unless you get the M26 Ariete Premium, 6.3 lineup is a car with a recoilless rifle on top, and the Sommerwaffe to 9050, a tank destroyer with, no mobility. It's got an okay mobility. It's got okay armour for a 5.3 tank or a 4.7 tank, but at 6.3, this thing is completely useless for armour. It has no armour effectively, right? The only thing it's got going for it is its gun, and that's it. The same as the armoured car, the same as the Fiat. The only thing it's got is its gun. You haven't got a tank. The only effective tank you've got is a fucking Firefly or the P40, which is a bad tank even at its BR. The P40, well, it's not terrible, but it's not great. It suffers at 3.3. Hell, you'll even suffer against 2.3s in that thing. It's just beyond a fucking joke. And Gaijin have released this. This is a released fucking tech tree. It's just ridiculous. They didn't even fuck up this bad with the Japanese, and the Japanese have hardly any vehicles, but they managed to make it work. They managed to actually get some tanks and fill out the fucking tech tree, so you don't have a massive gap between tanks. You don't have a huge gap from the fucking STB. It would be like having the Chai-To to the STB. It just doesn't fucking work, and they keep doing this. France, for instance, was not a terrible grind either. However, you have 4.7 tank and then 6.3 tank. You do have the ARL-44, however, which is a terrible vehicle. The only thing that's got going for it is its gun. That's going to be a common saying in this video. But everything else fucking sucks. And you have this horrible lineup where you can't really be effective. Until you've unlocked all of these vehicles, you can't really be effective in rank 4 fights. You're basically a rank 3 player in rank 4. You're just effectively fucking yourself over. It's ludicrous, and they need to rethink things. Now, it's not just tanks they do this bullshit in. Aviation has a problem with it, but aviation, if you're playing an RB, doesn't really matter because you've only got one vehicle. You're only effectively flying one plane. Ships, however, are a different problem. Until recently, with the fleet, Russia had this huge gap between their ships, right? And the thing was, they got this fucking overpowered thing first. Oh god, it's not even funny anymore. It's frustrating, and they don't seem to listen. They don't seem to be able to fucking work out the problem, and they wonder why people are leaving the game, and they wonder why people are frustrated, because they're fucking morons and they can't get it right. Helicopters are terrible. They're still in beta, but the fact is, you will have two teams that have helicopters against a team that only has one team that has helicopters. So effectively, the Germans have to carry the weight of the Italians or the Japanese, whoever they're teamed up with, when they're fighting America, Russia, Britain, France. The fuck? And they keep doing it. As I said, in the last video I was talking about the anti-ship missiles. They need to put a counter in before they add a fucking set of vehicles or attacks. Look at the bloody supersonic vehicles, right? The fact we've got bloody air-to-air missiles now, yet we don't have chaff and stuff like that. You've got to just jink to try and avoid it. There's no countermeasures for these. And if you're playing a 9.0 jet, you're kind of fucked, because you're going to get attacked by players who have something that you can't use. Players have some ridiculous advantage. And the thing is, say you're fighting I don't know, your USA and Britain, who have 2 vehicles with air-to-air missiles. Yes, the Javelin is terrible, but it still has air-to-air missiles against Russia, who has 1 vehicle that has air-to-air missiles. Again, it doesn't work out, it doesn't balance, It's an unbalanced fucking system. And the game is fundamentally broken. They need to stop doing this. They need to stop breaking the game. They need to actually start listening to their fucking community and start making things right for this game. Anyway, I'm going to end it there because this has turned into more of a rant than I wanted it to. But I'm just fucking frustrated and over all of this. It's just ridiculous that they keep making these mistakes, and it's ridiculous that they don't listen to their community. This is how you lose players, not how you gain players. They don't really give a shit about older players. This is the problem. They want to get new players in who are going to buy things with, golden eagles, who are going to, want to buy special things now and again. They want to get new players in more than they want to keep their existing player base. And this business model does not work. It's kind of like the whole grind. So I'm going to continue ranting, obviously. The whole grind system in tanks, people see, oh shit, I can play the T80, that's awesome. To get to the T80, they've got to grind through everything to get there. And that's going to take months, if not years, to get there. I've been playing this game for fucking years, and I'm not even there. Yes, I have the Type 90, but it's ludicrous, it's just fucking insane. They make the grind hard on purpose so people will spend golden eagles to fucking buy shit. And yes, that is their business model, but if they change their business model slightly, maybe reward players who have a premium account with more than just, an extra 100% RP. Maybe give it 200%, make it more enticing for people, and maybe make it a monthly subscription. Make it $9 a month and you get that. People would probably do it because people would like to have that added benefit. Plus they get a constant income then. It's just... Gaijin, if any of you are listening, just fucking start bucking up your ideas. Stop making fuck-ups like the whole Italian tech tree. Look, I'm not saying the Italian tech tree is bad. Well, I am saying it's bad. It's a terrible design. But this is not acceptable. This gap, 4.7 to 6.7 is not acceptable. It needs to have something in there. You need to have a 5.0 tank, a 5.7 tank. Fuck it, throw a Panther in there. The Italians technically used the Panthers when they were occupied by Germany. Throw it in there. Give the Italians a Panther just so they got something in this lineup. Hence why I was saying the P-43, yes, it was just a fucking mock-up, but as I've said before, they're doing that. They've added paper vehicles. They've added vehicles that didn't really exist, that didn't really get used. Hell, they've added vehicles such as the Kugelblitz that weren't really a thing. The flak Panzer, they were prototypes, but they weren't really anything. They weren't made, The fucking Tiger 10cm, the Panther 2. These vehicles do not exist. They never did exist. They were never made. Yet they're put in the game. Fucking hell, seriously, it's not that hard, is it? It's not that fucking hard. Hell, the fucking Italians even captured some fucking T-34s. Throw in a bloody, I don't know, a T-34-85. I'm sure the Italians had one of those somewhere. Throw in one of those. Just builds up their tech tree slightly. Just gives them something of a stepping stone. Just gives them that extra bit of armour that they need, because at the moment, they need that extra bit of armour. Yes, the majority of their tanks rely on mobility because you've got the armoured cars, but then you don't even have enough armoured cars to rely on it. The Fiat is not that great because it just does not run properly. You got things like the AB41 here that can climb a fucking mountain, yet the Fiat can't even climb a fucking, rabbit hill. It's ridiculous. Alright, well, I'm going to end here before I continue ranting. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know in the link below. Also, please, if you like my channel, please come join me on the Discord. It's in the description below. Yeah, I will see you all next time. Bye bye.